Blessings to be with us today. My name is Herman Muli Bigham. I'm an elder. I'm an African originally from the U.S., and I've traveled in Africa since 1977. I'm now living in Kenya. Have been living here full-time for 8 years, been traveling back and forth for 13 years, and, excuse me, involved here in various business and I would say invention pursuits to be able to produce products that provide economic opportunity and business opportunity and benefit the lives of the people.
The Afropreneur Podcast, a podcast for African entrepreneurs, presents inspiring, innovative, and disruptive entrepreneurs from Africa as they share their lessons, insights, and learnings from their unique entrepreneurial ventures. I'll be your host. My name is Ogweno Stephen. Let's roll.
Here, my life started out in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in 1949, so I'm reaching for 74. Much of my life experience has to do with real estate development and cultural arts. There's certainly a nexus there for me. My family was very much involved in supporting African cultural, arts in America and in the U.S., specifically Philadelphia. And also, when I was young, quite a few African students stayed with us. So I got a glimpse of being in the presence of, continental Africans at a very young age. Also, my elementary teacher, Helen Monroe, influenced me greatly, and me and others, because she was an internationalist, and she's the one who really opened up our minds to the world. She was teaching us about Africa and China, back when I was in elementary school, and that was unprecedented, particularly in the environment in which I grew up. My mother was also a great influence because she was a very proud African, and she came from a lineage of proud Africans from South Carolina. We were all we maintained our land, which was quite a feat in America, and have done so. And they had a very rich life. Travel, a lot of travel. Brazil, one of my favorite places. And Festac, which I went to in 1977 for like 45 days, in which I traveled to Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast, but Festac was, I call it my baptism. It was my African baptism. I'm not a Christian, but that was my African baptism, and I'm so thankful for that experience of Festac, and then being in Africa back in the 70s to really get a real idea and a real experience of what it means to be in a real African environment. And I say that because living in Kenya in this time, in this period of life, is quite the opposite of being in Africa back in the 70s, when there was these things called pride and virtue, et cetera, et cetera. So that is my brief summary of my most blessed life, and my wife and myself are living here and came here and have several business activities, one of which we have a textile company that is a green textile company that produces a full line of textile products utilizing traditional skills, hand woven. Many items are made with yarn that is actually hand spun. We introduced the growing and the development of Erie silk. So we introduced that to Kenya and pretty much to this region, and we've done so independently. We've done a tremendous amount of work here to bring about employment. We've had over 100 women working through one of our projects that dealt with recycling and reuse of plastic. It's allowed us to do a lot of creative things. Our joy is working with the people, and they have been so supportive and trustworthy. We're here to not only provide employment, but also to maintain traditional skills. And we're working with the people in Wote in Makawini County, who are generally of the Kamba culture and tribe, and they are probably historically the best artisans in Kenya overall in terms of their carving skills, their weaving skills, et cetera, their skills working with natural dyes. So that really fit well into that. Right now we're working with a biofuel project that's huge. It'll involve thousands of people. It's currently now, after 1 year, involving probably around 200-300 at least. And all of this we've done, on our own, no government support. The government, their way of supporting you is calling you out to make them look good. But, we don't respond to the calls now. So also, being in Kenya for me has been, it's been very challenging, which we'll talk about later, but one of the things is it's given me time to really express my creative juices. I and my adopted sons collectively have developed and patented 14 different patents for extremely important products that we're making available here in Kenya. And currently, because of the shortage of fertilizer here in the country and in the world, we've developed organic fertilizer, a very powerful organic fertilizer, using locally available products. And also, we're from the biofuel project, we are working and collecting and aggregating what's called the croton nut, and in so doing, 70% of the nut itself is the shell, and 30% is the seed. The seed is used and squeezed to produce a biofuel. The waste now becomes a part, so-called waste. We don't believe in waste, but the waste becomes a part of our fertilizer and the bio briquettes that we produce. So that's a reasonable conclusion in summary.
Alright, thanks for listening, and that's a wrap for this episode. For more exciting episodes like this, don't forget to follow our podcast, the Afropreneurs Podcast, on all streaming sites, and visit our website at www.ogwenostephen.com. See you on the next one.